Hello there, good people and friends of the road. It's the Big Heavy, and I want to give you a quick walkthrough of my electrical setup in my Winnebago View/Navion. And I put all the Victron things in here. What I'm going to show you, may not be the absolute right way to set this up, but it's the way I did it. And when I was doing this, I tried to find as many videos as I could that kind of showed other people's setup so I could get ideas, figure out what I wanted to do. So in the hopes of guiding you along your own electrical journey, I'm going to walk you through what I did. So let's get started. Now, first up, we'll walk you through kind of the guts of the system here, which is the battery. In this case, it lives under these steps. And what we've got here is a battery from a company called SFK, kind of a funny name. But in any event, what I like about this is it's 300 amp hours. I think they have newer batteries that are the same case. In fact, it looks exactly the same with the black and the yellow, but that are 315 or 320 amp hours. Lithium ion, of course. And the other thing I really like, it fits in the battery box of this Winnebago View. And theoretically, I could get a second one in here. You can see my ultra high tech bit of 2x6 that I put in there to keep the battery from sliding around. But a couple things I want to show you in here. So first off, this battery box from the factory is essentially open to road debris and grit. So I put in some of this. It's basically like fancy cardboard. It's kind of exterior rated sheeting. And you can see I've got a little bit of HVAC tape in the corner. So easy enough to cut to fit your battery box. Keeps the road junk out of here. It's got some nominal R value. So theoretically, it gives your battery a little bit of insulation. But basically mostly to keep the grit and the junk out of here. Now, what I like about this SFK battery, aside from the fact that you can get two in here potentially, and on that, you may have to cut off this little handle, but not a huge deal. But what I like is it also has this little, what looks like a network jack here that essentially allows it to communicate with my Victron system. And we'll talk about why that's cool in a minute. Some of the other things that are notable in here, this battery does have heating, it has balancing, it has Bluetooth. Turned off the Bluetooth since it talks to Victron. I can talk to it that way. And I essentially left the wiring for the most part kind of mirroring the stock Winnebago setup. So the battery, we've got a primary fuse here. It's a 300 amp bus fuse that kind of protects the wiring coming out of the battery should something bad happen. We've got this Victron bus bar here. Nothing special about this, just kind of a bus bar. And you'll see we've got room for one more battery in case you want to add that. We've got the factory positive that goes to the battery disconnect that kind of lives right next door over here. And we'll talk about what that's connected to and why I kind of maintain that setup. And the other stuff was essentially kind of how it comes from the factory, which is a little bit janky, but I wanted to keep it more or less factory. And that's a line that in the original went right off the battery into, there's a mega fuse under here and a little bus bar. This bus bar kind of goes to another bus bar and essentially distributes the battery to the house kind of 12 volt stuff, which lives under the passenger seat up here, and also to the 12 volt lift system. There's hydraulic lifts that'll lift up the RV and balance that out. That's an option on some of these views, but in my case came from the factory. I have this same bus bar over here mounted to the wall for grounding. Again, have room for another battery in there. If I do put that second battery in there, I'll probably remove this from the wall and put it on top of the battery like I have this guy. What I like is that kind of keeps things out of the way. This also provides just a little bit of pressure, so this battery doesn't, if it hit bumps, it won't bounce around. This will kind of keep everything in place combined with my, high-tech 2x6 over there. So with that out of the way, let me walk you to the guts of the system. So I put the majority of the Victron goodies down in this panel here. And aside from getting your squats in with these low Winnebago doors, it made for relatively short wiring runs. This was where the factory inverter lives. This is a inflatable suck pump. I'll move that out of the way. Got my knee pad in here in case I ever need to do something down in here while I'm on the road. I've got a Milwaukee charger in here. I have a Milwaukee vacuum that we use when we're on the road. And let me walk you through all of the goodies in here. So this is our Lynx distributor. It's arguably kind of a fancy bus bar, but the battery comes in on the right side over here, and then this kind of serves as a main bus for all the Victron stuff. So back in this hole, which was from the factory, kind of see it over there. That's where we go out to the battery. It's pretty easy to get to the battery box from there. And then above it kind of goes up to the floor to that access to that disconnect that I showed you on the wall, as well as the AC from the inverter. So our battery comes into this guy, and then he is connected over to these dudes over here. So the first of these dudes is a Victron charge controller. What that does, if you're not familiar, it takes the solar panel's output, which varies in voltage, varies in amperage, because obviously the sun varies, and turns it into a nice steady 12-volt output that will then power all the DC stuff in the vehicle, as well as charge the batteries. Kind of a similar idea over here. This guy is called an Orion XS, and it's a DC to DC charger. If you're not familiar, that sounds a little goofy. Why would you want to go from DC to DC? Well, the answer is this runs off the vehicle alternator. So if the Sprinter is running, this takes power from the Sprinter's alternator, which is essentially spinning as long as the engine's spinning and generating power, turns that into a nice steady 12 volts, max of 50 amps, and pumps that into the van's electrical system. The reason you wouldn't want to connect your alternator directly to the lithium battery is think of the lithium battery kind of like a black hole. It'll suck up all kinds of power. It'll suck up more than the alternator is willing to give, and it can kind of jack up your vehicle's electrical system. So that's the purpose of the DC to DC generator. And then up here, or not generator, sorry, DC to DC battery charger. And up here we've got the Serbo GX. So this is kind of the brains of the operation. Now this is essentially a Raspberry Pi inside. Some people take a Pi and kind of build their own Serbo. In hindsight, that might not have been a bad idea, because I think this thing's frankly a little underpowered and you could get a little more powerful Pi. But what's nice is it has all the Victron ports already set up. It's got some inputs, both digital and analog, so you could hook hardwired tank monitors to this, so you can monitor all your tanks. You can put some relays in there. We've got power, which goes back to that Lynx distributor over there. And then we have these little VE Direct guys. So these all go to the other different Victron components, including one that I'll talk about in a little bit. And then you've got this little Ethernet guy that goes over to the inverter. And what's neat about that, and what I really like about this Victron system, and kind of the reason you spend all this money and buy everything from the blue box guys, is that ultimately the Serbo will talk to the battery, figure out what the battery needs, and it'll limit the charging to just what the battery needs. So right now my battery is more or less 100%. So this guy will say to the solar controller, hey, back off, we don't need any juice. Versus if the battery is 20%, it would say, give me all you can. It'll, if the vehicle's on, it'll say, give me power here. And it'll talk to the battery. And if the battery says, hey, you're giving me more juice than I can handle, it'll ramp things back, which is kind of cool. The other neat aspect of this system is this Victron inverter over here. And this isn't necessarily how I wanted to install it. Somehow I got the wrong specs and thought I was initially going to mount it up on the ceiling of this compartment where the factory inverter was, but it actually doesn't fit with this little wall back here. So minus 10 points for me for not being able to read a spec sheet. But what's cool about this inverter is a couple things. So it's 3000 volt amps versus the factory's 2000. So you get a little more juice, so you can run more stuff off the battery up to and including the air conditioner. The other thing I really like is you'll see I've got this disconnect here. So this ultimately goes to the chassis battery. So that's kind of the Sprinter's battery here. This disconnect lets me obviously disconnect from the chassis battery if I need to work on anything. The big wires go down to the Orion, so that's where I'm getting power from the vehicle alternator. But this little guy who comes from the inverter will trickle charge the battery. So while this thing's sitting around in storage sucking in solar from the sun, this inverter will take, and I think it puts out like 5 amps. It's pretty nominal, but it's enough to keep the chassis battery topped up. So you don't need a trickle charger, you don't need a battery tender, you don't need anything like that. And it's kind of one of the little niceties that Victron builds in there. The other thing that's really cool about this inverter is it will has like an assist mode. So if you're plugged into a regular old 120 volt outlet in your house, which I'll often do in the driveway when I'm getting ready for a trip, and maybe it's a hot day, you want to run the air conditioner, you can set the inverter and basically tell it, hey, I'm plugged into a regular wall outlet, I'm not plugged into one of those big honking 30 amp AC circuits. You can only take 12 amps from the wall, but it'll fill the gap from the battery. So if you run the air conditioner, and the air conditioner in this will, you generally can get by on 12 amps, but when it starts up or it's kind of in max cooling, it'll draw a little more than that. The inverter will suck juice out of the battery, add it to the 12 amps you can get from the wall, let that AC run. And then if the AC ramps down or turns off once the vehicle's cool enough, it'll take that wall power and charge the battery back up. You can also set it so if you're at a campground and you are connected to shore power, it'll use solar first, and then when the battery gets down to a certain level, it'll switch over to charging it from the shore power. In terms of how I mounted all this stuff in here, so I had a grand vision of being able to pull this, this whole kind of thing in and out. When I did build out this panel, I was able to do it outside the RV, which was kind of helpful. It's essentially just plywood with this carpeting stuff I got from Amazon. I think it's built for like doing car subwoofer boxes and things like that. And then these little aluminum trim pieces are just from your favorite big box store. So screwed those in, essentially just created a little plywood setup here to bolt everything to, put the carpet over here so it looks sort of nice. And that's ultimately what I built out. In retrospect, I would have made it much wider so I could put the inverter on there. Right now, that's just attached to a hunk of random plywood I found when I was putting this in at a place not my home that I ran some stainless bolts through to keep the thing from bouncing around. So that's kind of the guts. So let's go up to sort of the user interface of the system. So here we are inside the RV itself. It's a little bit of a mess because we're getting ready for a trip. But what's cool is we've got this nice little Victron panel here. And this guy runs down to the Servo GX. Hopefully I can get an angle so you can sort of see this without too much glare. There's an HDMI cable and a USB cable. I've got that running down through here. Kind of had to go behind the fridge, which was a little bit of a adventure to get it down here. But ultimately, if you were to go below this bottom drawer, and you can just pull the drawers out like any old drawer, you'll find all the Winnebago electrical stuff. So you get good access in the bottom of the sink cabinet down to that panel below where everything is. So that's one benefit of putting all the electrical stuff down there. And since all the factory stuff kind of terminates down in these two cabinets, that makes your life a little easier and you don't have to relocate a lot of stuff. So back to this Victron panel, this is using the new user interface. There's an older one, so you might see that in some of the videos. I think this one looks a little cooler. What I like, and again, sorry about that glare there, but it kind of tells you what's going on at a glance. So the big 100 means my battery's 100%. I've got my propane, my LPG. That should be rating a little higher since the tank's full, but we'll talk about that in a second. Got my fresh water meter. Again, I'll tell you how I do those. And then you've got sort of all your power stuff going on. So this is telling me I'm using 25 watts of DC right now. That's probably a trickle charger for the battery, maybe some of the USB chargers, something like that. Got my AC power, my inverter's off, so nothing there. And on this side, I've got my inputs. No shore power coming in, no alternator power coming in, 74 watts of solar. You also get this little, flow chart kind of view that shows you where everything's going. That's sort of nice. It's got some little animations. Again, gives me a little more detail, but everything's kind of in the same place, telling me my shore is disconnected. Got no AC, my battery's charging, gives me some amps and volts there, which is kind of nice. The other thing I really like is this will talk to Bluetooth sensors. So I've got a Bluetooth freshwater sensor. I'll link all this stuff down below. I think that's made by a company called, I can't remember their name, so I'll give you a link there. LPG, I've got a sensor from Opeka. Again, it's Bluetooth, so I didn't have to go and run all sorts of crazy wiring. And I also have some little Ruby sensors, which are little Bluetooth sensors. One's in the interior of the vehicle, so I can see the temp and humidity in here. And then one I put in the compartment of the propane tank, so I can see the outside temperature. Inside's, a little bit dopey. You're sort of in here already, so who cares what the temperature is. But outside's kind of nice. If you're out camping, you can go and say, hey, it looks like it's 50, but maybe it's 40 or 50 or 30 or something like that. I did update some firmware here, so I've got some BMS messages. But I really like this thing. I like that it gives you all this information at a glance. You could argue it's a little bit nerdy, but in particular, I find the fresh water helpful when we're out boondocking, since that's kind of a critical resource. And the factory default thing is this one place guy where you get these tank levels that are basically full, 1/3, or full, 2/3, 1/3 empty. So it's got like 4 levels that don't really tell you a lot. When you're below 1/3, you could have 15 gallons of fresh water, or you could have like 2 gallons of fresh water, versus this Bluetooth guy uses sonar or UV or some sort of fancy technology, and it'll give me a really good idea of how much water we have in here. I might put some sort of gray tank sensor in here, since that's the other thing that we worry about filling up when we're boondocking. That's the water from your shower, your sink, that sort of thing. Generally, black doesn't get full unless we're out for many days. That's kind of where the poop goes. But it would be nice if I had a little better handle on what our gray looks like, and we could plan a little bit. Now, if you've seen the factory Winnebago, or you have one of these, this is where the ZAMP solar controller is. It's not as efficient as the Victron ones. Mine was broken in this case, which started this whole project, which ended up being a whole exercise in overkill. But in any event, pretty easy to remove the ZAMP, and ultimately I had to replace some of the solar stuff up on the roof. But this screen fits pretty nicely, and I think looks kind of factory. While we're talking about solar, the other thing I've added is this solar disconnect up here. If I can find where I got this switch, I'll put a link to it. There's a pain in the butt, but it's a actual solar disconnect. It's designed for solar. A lot of people use generic DC disconnects, or even worse, use like an AC breaker, which is not good, since apparently it can arc with solar. This will disconnect both the rooftop solar panels. We've got like 500 watts up there, as well as the connection that's down in the water compartment in this thing, where you can plug in external solar panels, which I don't think I've ever actually used on a camping trip. But both of these essentially come through a penetration in the roof right behind here. If you ever need to work on this, you can remove the ZAMP pretty easily. You can remove one place pretty easily. You can get your hand back there and kind of see what's going on. You don't actually have to take this panel off, which is nice. But the solar comes down through the roof, runs to this disconnect, and for the roof panels, goes from the disconnect down to the guts in that front compartment we showed you. And for the exterior solar, goes behind here, where I put another one of those Victron solar controllers. So a little bit hidden, a little bit hard for maintenance, but this guy essentially comes off with 4 little screws. It's not it's not an actual panel. You can sort of hear the sound difference. And this is where the factory inverter control panel was from Zantec. I removed that. I had an ugly hole in here for a while, and instead decided to 3D print myself this sort of goofy panel, but it's better looking than the hole. We still have the factory generator up here. We've got our tank heaters up here. Don't use the generator as much as I thought I did, but if you're boondocking we can usually go with a 300 amp hour battery on a sunny day or a sunny weekend, kind of infinitely. If it's cloudy after day and a half, we start to run low on power. You can spin up the generator. That'll charge things up in a couple or 3 hours and kind of keep you going if you're doing a longer term boondock. Runs off the diesel gas tank, which is nice. So unless you burn a whole tank of diesel, it'll keep going for you. So that's my Victron setup. This is a 2020 Winnebago Model J, I believe, which is the bed in the back. It's on a 2019 Sprinter chassis, which I think is still the newer or most recently new model. They have some 4-cylinder Sprinters now. This is the 6-cylinder with the turbo diesel. And if you have any questions, throw them in the comments. I spent a lot of time looking at videos, as I mentioned. Didn't get all my questions answered. Hopefully this helps you if you're moving in this direction. If nothing else, gives you a few ideas of what not to do. And keep yourself safe, as always, when working with electricity. Keep yourself safe out there on the road. And get out there, enjoy the world, and safe travels. Big Heavy, wishing you exceptional journeys. Peace.